Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, gas prices hit consumers' wallets hard at more than $6 a gallon. Plus, investigators probing the country's latest murder. This as the Prime Minister convenes a crime conclave, why the opposition leader is speaking out. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, gas prices are up over $6 per gallon at two major suppliers here on New Providence. Experts say the expected price increase is mainly due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and increasing inflation. Meanwhile, a noted economist and members of the public weigh in. Jared Higgs tells us more.
Rubis is at $6.33. Esso at $6.16 and Shell at $5.50 per gallon, leaving many consumers feeling the pinch.
Gas prices are outrageous. They're trying to kill the people.
The price of gas is ridiculous. You basically have to go to work and then go back home because, it's just, I don't understand. I don't get it. It shouldn't be that high.
While Shell is cheaper, noted economist Gowan Bowe expects that price to increase soon too. He says the price of oil is volatile, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
And most of the price differential amongst the fuel distributors is very short-lived.
Our News also got reaction from members of the public. Pretty much everybody we interviewed wants government to intervene and lower taxes on gas. It's what Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley did. This 36-year-old music engineer wants government to help out.
Most definitely. They need to, I think it's ridiculous. How you could increase all the prices on everything else, but our paycheck is still the same.
But Bowe, Fidelity Bank's chief executive, says there's a different price to pay. Lower taxes will mean lower revenue. Barbados gave up $12.5 million in annual revenue by reducing its tax.
The government of the Bahamas can lower its taxes on fuel, but then it's going to have to lower its expenditure in other areas, and that may be in some very specific social assistance or other services that we would say, well, no, we don't want you to reduce those as well.
Bowe says the alternative is consumers being mindful of their energy use. The rise in prices comes on the heel of a global pandemic that saw thousands of Bahamians out of work for several months at least. 48-year-old Donald McIntosh has only been back on the job for 2 weeks after being out of work for a year and a half. The increase in the cost of living, especially tough on him.
I was struggling, so right now I'm just getting myself back together.
The current market price is certainly stubbornly staying above $100 a barrel, when persons can remember where it was consistently around $30 to $50 a barrel for a number of the past few years. And so that gives you sort of a sufficient indicator to demonstrate that actually the open market price certainly has increased at least twofold, if not threefold.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Meanwhile, a top executive at one of the country's biggest petroleum supply companies is insisting local fuel suppliers have little control over the final price of fuel. Our Jasmine Brown caught up with Focal Holdings Limited President Dexter Adderley, who explains why retailers have no choice but to pass on the cost to consumers.
The Focal executive told the media today the increase in prices at the pumps is a global trend that will not be going anywhere anytime soon.
The wholesalers and the retailers, they pass on a fixed cost on a per gallon basis to the end consumers. So we have very little control on the ultimate pump prices.
The Focal president says not only is the rising cost of fuel out of their hands, but suppliers do not hedge gasoline because it's too risky.
We hope and pray that things settle down and that prices resume to a level that consumers are comfortable with.
Focal Holdings Limited is the sole licensed Shell distributor for the country. So far, Shell stations have managed to keep their prices at the pumps below $6 a gallon, while Esso and Rubis have all topped the $6 mark. As for how long Shell will remain the lowest, Adderley says that can't be predicted.
That's risky business because no one knows. We do not know where the prices are going. Tomorrow prices can collapse for one reason or the other. And so and then we'll have the opposite problem. You would have stocked up on high-cost product that the consumers are saying on the international markets, prices have collapsed. Why is our prices so high? And so essentially we take what the market gives.
The Focal executive adds that they are hoping that other oil supplying countries will pick up the slack on fuel production in light of the problems with Russia's supply of oil to the world in the context of its war with Ukraine. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, just hours after the Prime Minister convened a crime conclave to address a recent spike in crime, police are investigating the country's latest murder. Police Press Liaison Officer Superintendent Audley Peters says the murder took place around 9 p.m. on Palm Tree Avenue and Blue Hill Road.
On the arrival of the first officers, they found a small gray vehicle which collided into a fence. An inspection of that vehicle revealed an adult male slumped over in the driver's seat, unresponsive. Emergency medical services visited the scene, and following their assessment, the victim was pronounced lifeless.
34 murders have been recorded so far in 2022, a notable increase over 2020 when 34 murders were recorded in the first 6 months of the year. Peters says details on that investigation remain sketchy.
It appears that this incident would have started from one scene and ended up at this location, and that is much as we have so far with respect to this incident.
And Prime Minister Philip Davis holding an urgent conclave to address the recent increase in crime. Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard says while he's happy the government is moving, it didn't meet his expectations. Berthany McDermott has that.
Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard doesn't seem too impressed with the Prime Minister's conclave to address heightened criminal activity. While admitting it was a step in the right direction, Pintard said it was nothing more than a briefing, adding that it wasn't what he expected.
We are happy that they are finally moving, but we expect more. Many Bahamians are lined up, ready to participate in a collective strategy in terms of how we are going to stop the carnage in our homes and on our streets.
On Sunday, the Prime Minister convened an urgent conclave with high-level stakeholders to address the sharp increase in murders. In a statement, the Prime Minister said while much of it is clearly gang-related, a range of other factors are contributing to the spike. The statement added immediate measures were identified to help reduce levels of crime.
The government ought to lay out a strategic plan, and one part of that plan ought to be the immediate steps that should be taken, because clearly we were having that meeting because there is an uptick, a surge in violent crimes.
Pintard is hoping subsequent meetings will provide insight into what the plan is moving forward. He, along with Deputy Leader Shannon Don Cartwright, carried a document with a list of recommendations. He said there should be increased police presence in hotspot areas, the formation of a crime commission, and a summit between warring factions, among other things.
The government in the past has called a summit between warring factions, and I think that is an urgent requirement right now.
So far this year, there have been 34 murders recorded in the Bahamas. The latest murder took place Sunday night on Palm Tree Avenue and Blue Hill Road, just hours after the crime conclave convened by the Prime Minister. Local pastor and community activist Dr. Carlos Reed praised the conclave, calling it a new way to address the crime issue.
I believe that it was a successful meeting. We got to understand some things. We were able to throw some things in a pot that was already stirred. And I believe coming out of that, we're going to see some innovative and cutting-edge solutions.
Reporting for our news, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Well, mostly sunny and pleasant conditions today. Meteorologist Greg Thompson has the latest from the Weather Center.
First look at weather tonight is brought to you by Nestum Toddler Shake. distributed by Lightburn Trading. Very beautiful conditions outside the studios. Temperatures comfortable in the mid-70s, 76 under mostly clear skies. Those winds have fallen off north at 2 knots, or 2 miles per hour actually. Your feels like temperature also in the mid-70s. Satellite view, quiet across area. Frontal boundary well to the southeast across the Hispaniola and the San Juan, Puerto Rico area. But that high pressure was dominating our weather for the last 24 hours. It's going to continue to dominate our weather tonight through tomorrow with some very nice conditions. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, how a slap at the Oscars led to a local political slap-up. Plus, the royal visit may be over, but calls for reparations remain. And later, Marcellus Hall is back with sports. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamika.
Minister of Transport and Housing, JoBeth Colby Davis, facing some backlash after posting a now-deleted tweet suggesting that she supported actor Will Smith, who slapped comedian Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars on Sunday night.
Smith walked up on stage and slapped Rock in the face after Rock made a joke referring to Pinkett Smith as G.I. Jane. Pinkett Smith suffers from alopecia, an autoimmune condition where immune cells attack hair follicles, causing the hair to fall out. In the deleted tweet, Colby Davis wrote, "Men are natural protectors when they truly love women. It's harder for them to turn it off. Jada's reaction shows hurt. Let this be a lesson." After a rebuke from F&M chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands, who described the comments as reckless and irresponsible, Colby Davis deleted the tweet. Later, she posted another tweet where she said, "My apologies. I actually was feeling the hurt from Jada's point of view because I too suffer from mild alopecia." She added, "It's really not a good feeling losing your hair, so the joke hurt me." Reading back the comment was not properly worded, and so I removed it. Meanwhile, Sands says Colby Davis was still wrong despite her apology.
When we saw it, we were appalled that a cabinet minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas would, one, be so distracted given all of the drama that's taking place in this country. There are killing fields in our streets, particularly in the Grove. And this typically happens in areas where there's conflict resolution challenges. So to suggest or to support one man expressing violence towards another, it was just tone deaf.
In another tweet, Colby Davis fired back at Sands, saying he was reaching. She said, "My comment clearly referenced Jada, and it was not to support violence, and I do not. I simply referred to the hurt Jada experienced, which I could relate, so he could go find his political brownie points elsewhere."
She has done so. She has taken the post down. Unfortunately, she has continued to post in order to try and clean up her comments about the incident, and I think she should just put her phone down before she gets in trouble.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Well, on the heels of a week-long tour by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in the region, members of Advocacy Network and reparations committees from throughout the Caribbean are standing firm seeking reparations from the royal family. Group members say there needs to be a unified front to remove Queen Elizabeth as the head of state in the countries where she still holds that title. University of the West Indies Director of the Institute of Gender and Development Studies, Dr. Vereen Shepherd, says Prince William did not apologize for the past during his tour, and that was, quote, more than telling.
People are saying that Prince William apologized. No, he did not. An apology takes responsibility, commits to non-repetition, and commits to repair. That is what we are struggling for.
Bahamas National Reparations Committee Chairman Dr. Nyambi Hall Campbell-Dean is part of Advocacy Network and chimed in with specific reference to the Bahamas.
We were motivated to write the letter because, as God and the ancestors would have it, This royal visit to the Bahamas fell squarely on the 15th anniversary of the United Nations International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. As the children of the survivors of a system whose goal was to strip away our humanity, we wanted to show that we have not forgotten, that we are still here, and that we are indeed coming to collect everything that you owe me.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, the Culture Ministry eyes independence for the first in-person Junkanoo Parade. And in sports, how DeAndre Ayton and the Suns stay red hot. We have the details when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamik.
This is our news. Welcome back. The royal visit also proving to be a treat for Junkanooers who got their chance to touch bay after missing 2 parade cycles due to the pandemic. Now, many want to know whether in-person Junkanoo will make a return in the near future. Cale Campbell reports.
According to Bowleg, there's a great possibility of Junkanoo happening on Independence Day. Bowleg says with COVID levels remaining low, the Bahamas is in a better position to have a rush-out celebration, which hasn't taken place during the past 2 Independence Day holidays.
We encourage people to go and be vaccinated. We believe that the trend of COVID-19 right now is in a great position for us. So unless something happens that I'm sure all of us in this room don't want to see, that there's no spike, there's a great possibility there will be Junkanoo during the Independence celebration.
When asked to respond to criticisms of there needing to be a royal visit for Junkanoo to return to Bay Street, Bowleg says had the Duke and Duchess visited during a spike, there would have been no Junkanoo downtown. Bowleg added the parade served as a test run for holding future Junkanoo events.
This was a test and trial as we move to Labor Day, as we move to the 49th, as we move to the 50th celebration, which we intend to ensure that we celebrate this 50th anniversary of the Bahamas in a grand style, and one of our greatest grand style of celebration in our cultures, to show our culture's true Junkanoo.
Bowleg says the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture intends to work in conjunction with the Junkanoo Corporation of New Providence and the National Junkanoo Committee in ensuring protocols are in place to prevent a super spreader event. Bowleg added he regularly communicates with the Minister of Health with cultural issues involving large gatherings.
Of course, it's a cultural aspect that everyone wants to see, but we're not going to put anyone's life at danger for anything in this country, not this administration.
Legendary leader of the Shell Saxon Superstars, Percy Vola Francis, expressing optimism about the return to Junkanoo on Bay Street. But he quickly adds that Junkanoo organizations need to come together to improve parade conditions before heading back to Bay Street.
I particularly don't know what to do with myself, after being out of the parade for 2 years. And so it is good news to hear that Junkanoo is around the bend, and hopefully to be held sometime, I guess, during the course of the year.
For our news, I'm Cale Campbell.
And the E. Clement Bethel National Arts Festival is going digital. The Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture today announcing the annual Arts Festival will be held virtually with submissions live streamed to the judges. Senior Cultural Affairs Officer and Organizing Secretary Synovia Pierre.
With this being digital, they are able to see each other perform. They're able to feed off of each other and realize, we're not at a disadvantage because we're in a rural island or rural school. And so the nationalness of the festival has gotten that much bigger.
Well, the University of the Bahamas Mingos do well in Florida. Meanwhile, DeAndre Ayton and the Suns stay red hot. Here's Marcellus Hall.
All right, thanks, Christina. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall, back in the saddle again, and got you all running with what's going on as far as local sports is concerned. Our UB Mingos track and field team, they've been busy trying to get themselves on track, literally and figuratively, this time paying a trip to Florida this past weekend, and doing pretty well, I might add. Let's take a look. University of the Bahamas track and field team posted 4 top 10 finishes over the weekend at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, Florida. This was the first international meet for the Mingos track and field squad in more than 2 years. International competition was suspended early 2020 because of the pandemic. Head coach Edna Rowe saying the team's performance was top-notch despite the long layoff.
Competition here was high level. You had colleges like University of Kentucky, so my quarter mile, who's best female quarter mile is 57, running against somebody who runs 53. It really helped her to pull her through because of the competition to get her up to a season best. So I think they fared well. Like I said, season best for more than 80% of the team. 2 personal best, so I think they fared well.
Meanwhile, make it 8 in a row for DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns as they notched another win last night, this time going up against the Philadelphia 76ers in Phoenix. Suns taking advantage of the home court. They get the win here by 10, 114-104 ends up being your final score. As for our guy DeAndre, he played pretty well. Taking a look at his numbers, he played 30 minutes, had 14 points and 12 rebounds to go along with 2 assists. He also had a steal in the ball game. More importantly, like we said, the Suns continue to hold on to the best record in the NBA as they improve now to 61-14, tops in the Western Conference. And there it is. You look at sports here on this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Marcellus. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center with your extended forecast when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamika.
Welcome back to our news. Beautiful conditions ahead this week. Greg Thompson is back in the Weather Center.
Thanks, Christina, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather on this beautiful Monday evening. Right across our area, high pressure ridge sitting on top of Florida, generating some very nice conditions. Stable air mass, it's dry. Frontal boundary well to the southeast of the Bahamas across Hispaniola and the Puerto Rico area. That's continuing to move towards the southeast. That high will translate towards the east, turning our winds more towards the northeast to east over the next couple of days. And eventually by the end of the week, we should see some southeasterly winds. Temperatures will start to warm up, but we will enjoy some very lovely conditions over the next couple of days, all courtesy of this high pressure system. Boating conditions for all areas tonight to tomorrow. Small craft, use some caution out there. The wind's going to be out of the northeast to east at 15 to 20 knots. The sea is running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Tide is presently high, will be low at 9 minutes past midnight. Here's a look now at your Family Island weather and temperatures for tomorrow. A look now at your 7-day forecast through next Monday. Beautiful conditions will remain with us for the next couple of days. Make sure you get out and enjoy it. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.